Okay, I just had another brainwave. So I can actually skip my previous updated design concept that I was going to do and actually successfully make this new 3D beam physically much smaller. So if you've watched the previous videos, you'll know that this one has 4 active elements, and then it actually has reflect elements to the rear. And the active elements are half a wave apart front to back and half a wave apart left to right. And these two in one phase and these two are in the other phase. So, of course, there's the coherence between the two due to the taking half a cycle to between, for the wave front to traverse to the other one. So without the reflectors, it would be bidirectional. Now, to make the antenna smaller, physically much shorter, which would then also make it much more viable for even longer wavelengths, I will be able to create one with a very good directional pattern that doesn't have the reflectors at all. And the spacing between these rear, sort of mid-rear elements, which will be the new rear elements, and the front elements, instead of a half a wave, will be a quarter wave. So the antenna front to back will only be from here to here, instead of all the way from here to here. And they will still have a half a wave spacing. Okay, so the new antenna will be a half a wave wide, but only a quarter wave front to back. And how I will achieve the directional pattern is by having, let's say, these two fed on one side of the cycle, but the front two to lag 90 degrees. So these will be a quarter of a wavelength behind on the cycle, and also a quarter of a wave apart from here. So then, by the time the wave front makes it from here to the new front ones, which will only be a quarter wave away, because they are lagging by 90 degrees, it will actually be coherent, because it will match then because of that lag. But the difference is, unlike the previous version where it would have fired in both ways without the reflectors, of course, if this is lagging 90 degrees, by the time its wave front comes to this one, it's now 180 degrees out of phase, so we get a rear cancellation. Now, also, because the left and right both being in the same phase here, and these being on the other phase, 90 degrees off, but here, because they're half a wave apart, this will still eliminate side radiation. If it was just two verticals and we did it this way, where this one, let's say, is at 0 and this one is at 90 degrees and they're 90 degrees apart, then we would still have a directional pattern. We would have a null at the rear, we would have more gain at the front, but we would also have gain quite a bit at the side. So I think the pattern is called I think it's something like a cardioidal pattern or something, relating to the heart, because it would have a pattern like a sort of a love heart sort of thing, dulling at the rear. But by having these a half a wave apart side on, that will eliminate all that side angle. So it will be a beautiful beam, and it'll only be a quarter wave physical length front to back, half a wave wide, which then makes it much more viable for longer wavelengths, like even HF bands, etc. And of course, my brainwave I had yesterday can still be added to the system, where each of the elements, instead of just, let's say a half wave or whatever, 1/3 wave conductor, each element can be a collinear elements as well. So if this was, let's say, a 6 dB element, and this was a 6 dB element, and this was 6 dB element, then this is going to get pretty darn crazy in a good way. So that's the new brainwave there. I'll just try and show it on a piece of paper if I can do a scribble. I've done a scribble. I'll see if I can demonstrate that. I'll actually move now to a position where I can sit that down. So if you imagine this being the front of the antenna, so these two back ones without reflectors would fire, let's say, at 0 degrees, and these would be lagging by 90 degrees. So by the time this wavefront reaches this, it's in phase, as with this one reaching this, it's in phase, but because they're half a wave apart on both here and here, there's cancellations in those directions, simply because, you know, that's in phase with that, but by the time the wavefront travels across that half wave distance, this is now out of phase, and same with this and this. So it's actually the vast improvement on the 3D beam idea. As you can see, I've marked here looking down on the system. Half wave apart, the rear elements, front elements are 90 degrees lag. So it will be a beam that doesn't need reflectors. It'll be physically much shorter front to back. And of course, if I could do it with standard elements, but if I make each of these elements a collinear, like collinear whips on UHF or something like that, then this is going to be nuts. 7.3, and thanks for watching.